Okay, so we got a winter storm that's coming in Monday sometime. I guess right now it's hitting Kansas City. They're getting a lot of ice. They're telling us there's a big possibility of a lot of ice, maybe not. You never really know in Wisconsin. There's days where you can use your heater and your air conditioner all in the same day. So this is in the shop. I'm gonna move this into the garage. I probably should do this anyway. This is really where it should be during the winter months, because that's where my inlet is for the connection, is in the attached garage. So I'm going to move this up so that we're ready for this storm if it does hit. So then, in the way of being prepared, I got another 5-gallon can I'm going to fill up, but I have 15 gallons of fuel for the generator if we would need it. The generator is full. I do also have a full LP cylinder that I could also run the generator on. But it's good to have fuel. The generator would run our well pump, so we'd have water, and then our furnace, which we would have heat. So really those are like your two most important things. I'll go through some of the other stuff that we would have once I get in the house. Also, the lawnmower's topped off. That's ready to go. So if we do need to blow snow, if we end up with a lot of snow instead of rain, that's also ready to go. I like having everything fueled up, ready to go. I'm also going to go take my truck and fill that up as well, so it's ready to go. It's just a good measure just in case you do end up with a lot of ice. It's good to have fuel in all your vehicles and items that you use during a storm. So part of the reason I wanted to move it today too is if we do get a lot of ice and we do lose power, the last thing I want to do is try to pull that thing over ice. Got enough ice here the way it is from the last rainstorm we got, so it made it difficult but not impossible to move. So, and the doors too, with that tri-flow or tri-fuel adapter on there where you can run natural gas and propane, makes the generator a little wider, but you can still get it through the door. It's just a little bit of a trick. So I got it plugged in right now. There's a little port here to charge the battery. I'm just gonna make sure it's charged up, ready to go. I got all my connectors in here. Really the only thing I would need from this tub would be the actual power cord, which is that big yellow one. And then in the way of where I plug it in, I just got it behind this cart, and that goes down to the basement. So it's pretty easy. I just run the cord out this back door, because you obviously don't want to run a generator inside the structure with the fumes. So I just run it out the back door, and then I've never had to run it during an actual winter storm. Summer, yes. So during the summer I actually pull it around the side of the garage so it's not so noisy, but I shoveled this off this morning, so if I needed to I could just get it in, set it on the sidewalk patio back here, so that would be a good spot for it, and then run the cord inside. So the outlets that then would have power to them up here would be these two here, which we could then use for like we have an electric griddle or one of those hot plates. We could use that. You could also make coffee in the coffee pot. The light that's underneath here, these are just under the cabinet lights. Those would work. This would not. That's the garbage disposal. This light up here, which is LED, a recessed can light. And then those two outlets, there's lights on the other side of the countertop that come on as well. Those two here, which is the TV, and then there's an outlet below that TV. Let me get over there. So on the other side of the TV here, if we come down here, this outlet as well is all tied in with that same kitchen circuit. And then both these switches are, one of the switches runs that light up in the sunroom there. I'm getting a good reflection off the patio door here. You can see the other light. And then there's an outdoor floodlight Initially, this wasn't a sunroom, it was just a concrete patio off the back of the house, so they just used the existing circuit back in 1982 to tie all these. So all these outlets in here would also be live, so that would include our wireless modem or Wi-Fi. It's all tied into that same circuit. Another circuit that's included with the generator is the refrigerator here in the kitchen, and then also the microwave. Those are on the same circuit here. So this outlet here we could also use for something else, and then there's also an outlet then behind the refrigerator that's with the generator that's live. So another good thing to have, just because the house doesn't have wouldn't have electricity throughout with the generator because it's only a couple circuits. Some of these oil lamps, they don't put off a lot of light, but they would give off some, and you're not burning up a ton of batteries, and then just some extra lamp oil for it. So these burn pretty clean. Sometimes we just burn these for fun. But my dad had a lot of antiques when I was growing up as a kid, and he had a lot of, well, quite a few oil lamps and lanterns and stuff. And I remember a couple times when we lost power, we would use that before we had the generator set up. So, and then in the basement here, we have some extra stuff here. This is basically just, I don't know, extra stuff. Some of it's cleaning supplies, vinegar, dish soap, stuff like that. It's a good place to keep it out of the way, and it's not in direct sunlight. So this year I got a bunch of Spam from the kids, so this stuff keeps. So have that. I got extra batteries down here because that's a good place to have them. Some candle wax to make candles. One of these day treks. These are those emergency food rations. So these are supposed to keep like 5 years too. So there's extra stuff down here just in case. And then this food safe pail with the gamma seal, that also has a ton of stuff in it. Okay, so I open up the pail here. No, I don't eat that much Spam, and honestly, the first can I've had here in probably 20 years was about, I don't know, a month ago. The kids this year decided to get me a lot of Spam. I may have mentioned something about how wouldn't Spam be a great Christmas gift. So I got 17 cans of Spam this year, and we made some in the classroom. So anyway, it keeps. There's some salt in here. There's some random canned goods. I don't even know what this is. Pink salmon. I don't know. Instant coffee. So we could really use this for anything. What's this? More pink salmon. So a lot of this stuff, I'm going to say this pink salmon is good for quite a while. What does it say? Yeah, see the date on this thing says 2020, so that's quite a while. And we usually make, I think she makes salmon patties with that. So a lot of this stuff keeps for a long time. Get some baking soda in there for some odd reason, and I just seal this up and leave this in the basement here with the rest of this stuff so you know where it's at. It's not stuff we use every day, but it's nice to have a little extra stuff just in case. So this is the panel to run or have the generator run the house. So this is a really cheap panel. It was $100. I installed it myself and it works. I've used it a couple times. I'm not going to go through the whole thing or the wiring of it because I've done it in other ones, but big breakers for the well pump, most important, and then the furnace, which would probably be just as important, especially during the winter. I do have the sump pump on this one, and at the time it seemed really important because the thing would run a lot, but since I've moved the downspouts and stuff around, the sump pump hasn't run really. That we just don't get the same amount of water that we used to in the basement. A lot of it, or in some pit, the tiles just don't pick it up because I'm getting the water, I think, far enough away from the foundation. So I've failed to mention I do also have some Coleman lanterns I could use if we needed light. I don't know if I'd use these indoors, but if I was doing something outside and I needed light, these put off a ton of light. They all work. Most of them have fuel in them. I was actually going to go through and drain some of these out instead of just having fuel sitting in them. So I collect these, I guess, so that's why I have as many as I do. I also do have some, there's a heater, it's like a catalytic heater that uses Coleman fuel. And then I also do have some Coleman stoves that we could cook on if we needed to, outdoors, again, obviously. And what would be an ice storm without bags of salt? So these are 60-pound bags of solar salt crystals. So it's a finer salt. It's not like the Zeo tabs. It's 99.6 pure salt. So I use this in the water softener. This is in the basement. Quite a few bags here. But this also works good for melting ice. So that's good to have on hand. I usually have a few bags in the garage as well, just to throw in the back of the car for some weight. Just kind of even things out. So with all this, I really don't think of this as like prepping for doomsday. I think of it more of being prepared. My dad put together a generator setup where he got a used generator and then a used, because it needed an engine or a source for power, combine engine, and put it all together on a trailer. And people at the time said he was nuts. You know, what are you doing? What do you think, doomsday? And this is back in like the 90s. And we really never used it until the storm of 2000. And when that storm came through, nobody had power for a few days, and then things got real because everybody in the country was not well, so you didn't have water. And if you don't have water, you can only flush your toilet a few times before you run out of pressure from your pressure tank. So, and that thing ran through, and he had to set up with a gas tank off a car. I want to say it was like a 14 or 15 gallon tank, and boy, that thing sucked a lot of fuel when we were running it. You could run it for quite a long time, but his was set up with a double throw switch, so the entire load of the house would be in the generator, and that combine engine handled it. I think it was like a 15,000 watt generator with an international combine engine. So I mean the thing, and he had the combine engine screaming wide open and the RPM matching the generator, so it was dialed in pretty good. You could use everything from the range to the air conditioning to the welder out in the shop. So it was a cool setup. So, yep, that's just some thoughts on a possible winter storm. I'm pretty sure most of this will probably blow by, but just in case, we're going to be prepared here.